Y'all, I had a bit of technical issues earlier on, and I act like I haven't been doing this for years. So, welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari GXC. We are going to get the word out on both Spoutable and Twitter, and then we will get this fired up whether the chat fills up or not. Oh my gosh, phone, stop. You know how we do. Okay. That was beans. It's a gift. I'm not. Honey, don't send gifts right now. You know we live in the boonies. It's not gonna go through. Wait till we're in town. So, as y'all know, yesterday was Labor Day, and I also had to deal with health issues. But I am back. I'm feeling better than ever. Hey, Beans. I agree with you on the accents. My accent comes and goes because I've lived all over the country. So sometimes you get a twang. Sometimes a New Yorker comes out of me. Now that I've been living in the Midwest for almost 5 years, sometimes that comes out. I just absorb accents. You know how it goes. But I'm always going to be a New York girl to my heart, and I love that YouTube short you sent me. And speaking of shorts, we've got a short here from Pix that she wanted me to highlight on today's Bonnet Chronicles. I don't personally need any extra reason to want to vote for Kamala Harris, but this helps a lot. Thank you so much for the resub, Axel Wolf Honey. I appreciate you. The thing is, when it comes to. Thank you, honey. One of the things that I've been seeing, and yeah, I addressed it on Twitter as well, is a bunch of African Americans in California talking about reparations again. And they didn't bring it up when President Biden was running, they didn't bring it up when he got elected. They're waiting for Kamala Harris to. They waited till she announced her bid to start this fuck shit and talk about withholding their votes. And I'd like to petition them to see if they think Trump is going to be the one who will help us with reparations. I know, and I've seen a lot of people, and I used to feel this way, that reparations could not be possible in our country for the factor that it would be abused by people who know they don't qualify for it. But I do think if we did it by state basis, even if we had to do it in a state by state basis based off your birth state, where you fill out the proper paperwork and they have in each state a proper panel and people that can go through it to make sure that you qualify. I know I can prove my status as an adult descendant of slaves. I can also prove my status of having indigenous great grandparents who were rehomed. So I'm not worried about proving the fact that I would qualify for reparations, but there would be a lot of people that could not. There'd be a lot of people who are on the other side of that fence trying to play that system too. But if we could get regulations for everything else in this country, I do believe we can do it by state on who qualifies for what. But it would take a government who would take that shit seriously. Because they did it for Japanese Americans who were interned during WW2 wrongfully. So you can't tell me that it's not possible with a functioning government, but we don't got that right now. So while y'all want to protest and stomp your feet and argue about holding your vote, thus denying us the ability to even get a committee for that, I don't know what to say, but there are a lot of fucking ops coming up till November. Welcome to the chat, Bala Club. I just feel like there are a lot of people playing games that we cannot afford to have right now. But that's what we should expect this November. Because we have a black woman running. We have a black Southeast Asian American woman running. So she's up against misogyny, misogynoir, asking if she's black or not, because I guess some of our people want to indulge in the fucking one drop rule. And some actually find it lucrative to be right-wing puppets. Not this black woman. Sorry, not sorry. And then you've got idiots who swear they're for our people, who refuse to understand that in order to even get our foot in the door to have proper reparations talks, Because it might not be financial. They might have to give us extra tax credits. They might actually have to give us an actual opportunity for home and land ownership that they promised our ancestors with that 40 acres and a mule. It might not come in the compensation you think we're supposed to have, but we can't even get our fucking feelers on the table right now because people want to protest their vote. And I'll say it again. If you think 45 will be good for our communities in regards to any kind of reparations, you're just as bad as those Palestinian protesters who ignored the fact that Trump said he would bomb Palestine and make tourism sites on that land. We can't afford to play around, y'all. And thank y'all so much for the hype train. I don't normally get those, but I appreciate them. But we're going to fire off with this quick clip that Pick sent me, because it does show where VP Harris's brain was from the get-go on what needs to be done to help our economy. Because some of you forget, she didn't just go to school for law. She went to school for economics and got a degree in both.
The issue of equal pay. Mm-hmm. We passed the Equal Pay Act in 1963.
Way before I was
the year
born.
Of our Lord 2019. Women are paid 80 cents on the dollar. Black women 61 cents. Native American women 58 cents. Latinas 53 cents. We're still having this conversation.
Yep.
So here's what I'm prepared to do.
Decades.
Instead of putting the burden on that working woman to prove that she's not getting paid as much, I'm going to shift the burden to the corporation.
Yes.
To require that they prove they're paying people equally. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about that being the prosecutor versus the convicted felon.
And there's more. And to the point that they are paying women differently than men. For every 1% that they're paying women different than men, an equal 1% of their previous year's profits will be fined. And they will have to pay.
Yeah.
And that will get their attention. Here's one of the...
And that's the thing. This is the shit that all these people who claim about being progressive and wanting to stick it to the rich and all that classism bullshit that they go on and on about because they want free shit and they want a utopia where they can just sit at home and play video games and get paid. I mean, I would love a world where commerce didn't fucking completely supersede all of our comfort and stuff, but that's not the world we live in. You work for what you get. And unfortunately for some of these people, they have taken the okie doke and refused to understand that if you even want a progressive government, you have to be politically invested and you have to vote. Whether it's a win, lose, or draw, you have to exercise that right because the other side said to their people, vote for us and you'll never have to worry about voting again. And if that doesn't send a cold dread up your spine, you are the demographic that have been targeted for years to be voter apathetic, to think it don't matter as long as you're at the top of the hierarchy. And you are part of the problem and why we can't move forward in our country. Because the racism is a low-hanging fruit, because not thinking is a low-hanging fruit, and because you still think, oh, big government bad. Who's gonna fix my roads? I don't know. Who's going to make sure my health rights are secure? I don't know. You don't want to think if you think you have all the answers by not fucking voting and it makes no sense. Or worse, you fall into line with literal fascism because they'll give you the right to call somebody the N-word or any other slur you want or terrorize the LGBTQ+. Because for you, it's not about all of us advancing forward and moving from the stagnation of living in the digital age but regressing mentally. It is literally for a lot of you to just not think about anything but being hateful and disrespectful. And it's exhausting. I like her approach to wages too, Beans. I think that it will help because a lot of people think, oh, trickle down will still work. Trickle down doesn't work. These corporations don't give a fuck. I just watched something Penguin Zero covered last night where a Wells Fargo employee was dead at her desk for 4 fucking days with nobody noticing that they were dead. 60-year-old woman in Tempe, Arizona. These corporations just want bodies. They just want you to work until you cannot work anymore. And even then, constant talks of raising the retirement age. As if retirement didn't mean you get enough time in your golden years to enjoy all the work you did for decades. Now they want seniors working up to their 80s, and between medical costs, food costs, and everything else, that is a reality for a lot of them. But if we get people who understand the economy, who want to stick it to the people who should have been paying for years, who want to build that middle class up again, instead of worrying so much about your social hierarchy, start worrying about the benefits of having somebody smart enough to say, no, you can pay this much. It won't hurt your bottom line. It won't hurt your already cash hoards. But it will give us a robust enough economy where people will spend. That is what we want. We want an economy where people will spend, will buy things like properties, will live the literal American dream, which has been elusive for decades for many American people. But some of you don't want to hear that. You just want to be right. And how can you be right when we are struggling against a system that only caters towards people who well for it? We got to get it together. And while I believe in VP Harris's goals and stuff, I think sometimes you need to hear it from somebody that might look like you. Now, granted, Doc Brandon does use cartoons to highlight things, but I think it's fitting in this segment to show an average cowboy-looking white guy, and they take this from a lot of people's interviews, and why they are voting for VP Harris. Because if you don't want to take it from my black ass, maybe a cartoon or one of your own, using the voice of somebody who literally looks like this, will open your eyes to why so many of us are voting for Kamala.
I'm sure by now most
exactly,
of y'all
Beans, it does. Too many people don't realize that, though.
And they'll say something like, give me one good reason you're voting for Kamala Harris for president, and don't use the word Trump.
I can give you without Trump. Better economy, black woman, I don't give a fuck if that how that sounds. Educated, did good 4 years as VP, law, and economic degree.
Vice President Harris for
and it will be historic.
She understands that injecting disinfectant and bringing UV light into the human body is not a valid course of treatment for COVID. She knows that water regulations do not cause low water pressure in toilets and showers, and she understands that the noise from windmill turbines does not cause cancer. She is very well aware of the fact that the British did not control American airports during the Revolutionary War and that Kofi is not a word. She does not believe that detonating nuclear warheads inside of a hurricane is a valid means of stopping the hurricane. She understands that by being able to memorize and then repeat back the 5 words person, woman, man, camera, and TV is not proof of mental acuity. She does not believe that the president's nuclear button has to be much bigger and more powerful than Kim Jong-un's. She does not believe that microwaves are used as cameras to spy on political opponents. She does not believe that fathers should look at their daughters and then talk publicly about how they want to date them. And she did not send Jeffrey Epstein voicemails at 3 a.m. And finally, I am voting for Vice President Harris because she is not old and decrepit, racist, misogynistic, or weird. And
same Beans. That's another good reason on the list.
Not been found liable for committing fraud or for defaming the woman that he raped. So, good enough for you, or should I listen more?
I love Dark Brandon. We're going to feature a lot more of him today as I react to it. But he didn't even have to say 45's name. He just listed all the things that idiot did while president and after being president. That continues to show that this man wouldn't know leadership if he could fucking eat it. But we got another quick one that should lead into what I want to talk about with the Arlington stuff. Not that one yet. Let's do the Dark Brandon one first and then go to Nicole Waller's take on this. Because the fact of the matter is, all these fuckers who still try to say Trump is for veterans, you know, the draft dodger who avoided Vietnam due to bone spurts, is for veterans when he continuously disrespects our veterans, is just mind-boggling to me. But you're willing to twist the narrative so badly so that you can get to call people the N-word again. And I see ya. But let's get this popping off because, honestly, I love Dark Brandon. I think they are so talented. And thank you for helping me up to them, Beans. I swear, it is amazing. And yes, I remember how he disrespected the Khan family, whose son gave his life in the Iraq War to save his fellow troops. He's a mess. And he is definitely not for our military.
The fallout continues from a Monday visit to Arlington National Cemetery by former President Donald Trump and campaign staff who were there to mark the 3rd anniversary of the fall of Afghanistan and pointedly the deaths of 13 service members at Abbey Gate. So on Monday,
he really does.
Trump and
He
his
loves
staff were
people
at
who
the
won't
Tomb of
critically
Edmund Soldier,
think.
along with some of the families of the 13 service members killed at Abbey Gate, to lay a wreath. That area is open to the public. There could say there's videos. There weren't any really particular rules broken at that point at that time. The problem is that the cemetery, the Army cemetery, is not to be used for political purposes or partisan purposes.
Yes.
And that's not just rules or regulations or guidelines, that's actually federal law.
Yeah.
So when the campaign moved on from laying the wreath and walked towards Section 60, which many current veterans consider sacred ground, where they know the names on those tombstones because they served with the people that are buried there, it took on a different level of sensitivity. A Arlington National Cemetery staffer advised that they could not conduct any sort of filming there and allegedly was shoved. Earlier today, the Army released a statement defending its staffer, defending her professionalism and the way she handled it. It has definitely divided people along both sides on, what was appropriate, whether Trump should have been there.
He should, and he's a convict.
Could this actually have been used in a campaign ad? And it has. It surfaced on TikTok.
The
Trump campaign pushed back and released an ad that the Biden campaign put out in 2020 that has pictures of President Joe Biden at Section 60 in Arlington National Cemetery. The images that are in that ad are taken from 2010 when he was visiting a grave. And officials I spoke to said the difference between the two is that it seems like the Trump campaign showed up at Arlington National Cemetery on Monday for the purposes of filming an ad, and that they say that President Biden was there visiting a grave, and that image was later used 10 years later in his campaign.
And I don't think anybody understands that President Biden also had a son who is a veteran. So I think he, more than Trump, would understand not to disrespect Arlington National Cemetery. So using the footage of him visiting that grave 10 years prior in an ad is not the same as pushing a literal soldier who is trying to stop you from disrespecting Arlington so that you can run an ad campaign and commercial. Nicole Walters, though, she covers this as well, and I don't think I'm shocked anymore by the level of disrespect this fucking orange menace does. I'm just sick of the people who try to act like we shouldn't see what he does as bad. But let's fire this off because, like I said, because I got sick, I can't cover all the DNC again. But Dark Brandon got me covered on 2 of my favorite speeches. So we're going to run that after this to like palate cleanse because, Lord of mercy, you know how I feel about veterans being disrespected. And the fact of the matter is, Trump is a fucking crumb bum. And he should not be allowed to run for president. But because he is, we need to beat him so bad that he whines about it for the rest of his days, which I hope is not many.
This is no longer a partisan thing to say this, but it is a genuine disgrace, a repulsive maneuver that Donald Trump continues to shamefully employ in every single one of his political campaigns. That is, dragging our nation's veterans and their families into the muck with him to be used as political props. After days of trying to deflect and redirect outrage associated with his performative trip to Arlington National Cemetery, during which he posed with Gold Star families in an...
And not to interrupt, but on top of this was after that Medal of Freedom gaffe, where he literally said that the only people that get the Medal of Valor are losers who died or got injured, and that a beautiful woman is getting the Medal of Freedom because it's the best medal. How much more does he have to disrespect veterans for people to get this president will not be a leader for our joint branches? How many more gaffes does he have to make that people are excused? This is serious. This is getting on my nerves because it seems like it's coming from a lot of people who have never served or didn't have family that served, that put their lives on the line for the freedom of our country, that just condone his bullshit. It is not okay. I'm sorry, but no. Y'all can miss me with ignoring these constant, like being said, the disrespect. The disrespect to people with dementia, the disrespect to women, the disrespect to black people, the disrespect of Native people, the disrespect of Muslim people, the disrespect to Jewish people. Even though there are Jewish people, because they think he supports Israel, that are for Trump. You can't make that make sense. I don't wrap my mind around it. The disrespect for Southeast Asian people and of Asian people. Don't forget, even though Mitch McConnell's wife is Chinese, he couldn't wait to slander her ass. Anybody that doesn't seem white enough for him is under attack. And even if you're white, if you're poor, he loves the dumb people, as he's called it. I don't know what more this man could say to convince you that he is not leadership material if you're all in for him. But what I'm not going to allow you to do is have you lie and say that this man is for veterans. This man is for himself, and he always has been.
Area where photos are traditionally prohibited. The Trump campaign,
you know, the papers
President
in that coffin.
President Harris,
it's ridiculous.
Are the ones who ignored invitations to attend. Just one problem: the White House.
Not to interrupt Nicole Walters, but this whole "I know you are, but what am I?" She didn't come either shit is getting on my nerves. You are a 70-year-old man, sir. The whole, well, they were invited too and they didn't come. They were busy campaigning, something you should have been doing, but your rallies are too small. And I know you're jealous because she packs auditoriums. She packs stadiums whenever she visited. And the media has to show that difference. Hey, Granamir, it's okay, dear. I think it's hilarious that instead of campaigning like you want to, enjoy school, hun, you instead tuck tail and do these horrible photo ops that are disrespectful. We see you, Trump, and we laugh. At this point, election-wise, I'm not really worried much about Trumpers because those people aren't going to be saved. Exactly. It's the third-party voters I'm going to vote my conscience and hold their shit hostage, yeah. And then the Green Party motherfuckers, too. The only thing I take from that right now is that even though RFK announced he's not going to run right now, he's still going to be on ballots in certain strategic states, so it's going to fuck Trump over more. And I hope those people that wanted to vote for the roadkill guy do vote for him. Because, honestly speaking, it hurts him more than it hurts us. All we have to do is keep people mobilized, keep them focused, eye on the prize, and not fall for the distractions that the ops want us to. Because they're out there, trust me.
Insists no such invitation exists or was ever extended. The vice president this weekend accused Donald Trump of, quote, disrespecting sacred ground, all for the sake of a political stunt. She goes on, quote, if there is one thing on which we as Americans can all agree, it is that our veterans, our military families, and service members should be honored, never disparaged, and treated with nothing less than our highest respect and gratitude. But this is Mr. Suckers and Losers we're talking about here. His words, not ours, whose personal history is painted wall to wall with not just moments, but true beliefs that dishonor the military. Consider how Fred Trump, the disgraced ex-president's nephew, described the way his uncle dodged the draft in his book out earlier this summer. Quote, I have an idea, Fred Trump Sr. said. The move involved a podiatrist who rented space on the ground floor of a Fred Trump building. After a call from my grandfather, Dr. Larry Bronstein wrote a letter saying Donald Trump suffered from bone spurs.
Do you need to hear that again? Or maybe I'll read it to you. I have an idea, Fred Trump Sr. said. The move involved a podiatrist who rented space on the ground floor from the Fred Trump building. After a call from my grandfather, Dr. Larry Bronstein wrote a letter saying Donald suffered from bone spurs. Now, if you know, you know. In New York, you can always find those doctors willing to write certain notes to get you out of certain things. Plenty of people who wanted to avoid work or school or get into any event. We always had a doctor. There was one on Staten Island, if you know, you know, that could get you out of anything if you needed a doctor's note for it. Well, we didn't use it military-wise because fuck no. I can't even imagine my grandfather hearing an uncle or a cousin or any of them tried something like this. This wasn't allowed in my family. You served. My son is already on the selective service registry, even though we have no plans of him being military due to him being on the spectrum. But he's part of the selective service registry, which is mandatory on your 18th birthday, actually. So we're a military family regardless. We have vets that served in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. The war that Trump dodged, by the way. And welcome to the chat, Solomon. And I texted you back, dear. The thing is, the fact that he can be in a book like this, that the Trumps can legitimately blow off the fact that he didn't respond to his literal duty, but called John McCain a Trump, mock the fact that he was a POW. That's still not enough for some of you who think that he's pro-veteran. The man took another man's Purple Heart as a gift. And they tried to lie and say he gave it back after, but I don't believe that shit. The man is literally a walking cosplay of what a leader should be in regards to our military. Yet y'all keep lifting him up like he's the next Messiah, and you've got to wake up from that shit. Because he doesn't care. He ain't care to serve. And he sure as hell don't care about those who have served and are currently serving.
An ailment so severe that this otherwise healthy 24-year-old male could not possibly serve in the United States military.
Ridiculous.
Bone spurs. No one in the family had ever heard of Donald's bone spurs.
Because he
No
had
one had ever seen him hobbling. No one had ever heard him complain about other things, sure, but not about bone spurs.
Yeah.
Joining us at the table, nephew of Donald Trump and author of All in the Family, The Trumps and How We Got This Way. Fred Trump is here. Eddie's still with us.
We'll listen to just a little bit of this before going on to Dark Brandon, because this makes me mad.
Every time, and I'm mad at myself for still being able to feel pain at things that Trump does. That your uncle does. But
he's an awful person.
I was pained reading about Arlington, and the first thing I emailed and said to my team is, I want to talk to Fred Trump when he's back, because we, at the very end of our conversation about your book, right, you brought me into this room that you remember being in. Just tell me the story about his commitment. He worked hard to not serve.
Yeah.
Yeah, both he and thank you very much for having me back, and a pleasure to meet you, Professor. This all happened in what my grandparents called the library, which is funny because the only books in there were the yellow pages and the white pages. Many of your audience doesn't know what those are. But it was a very serious thing. And yeah, I was young, but I certainly remember the atmosphere around. Donald had a deferment at Fordham. Then when my father helped him get into UPenn, where my daughter Andrea graduated from, she's out here right now.
Don't brag, get to the point.
And when he graduated, as I try to eloquently say, is get ready to pack your bags, pal, because you're heading overseas. And that's when the reality really set in. So my grandfather, who was a very powerful guy in the Democratic machine in Brooklyn and Queens, came up with this, the only word you can use is scheme. And this podiatrist bought into it, and Donald went from
and
1A,
his niece,
his
whole family, outside the ones that directly benefit from him, have called him out constantly.
Then, of course, in the end of 1969,
he's not only incompetent, he's really
the Nixon
stupid.
administration was getting a lot of flack for just having minorities basically serving in the military.
Wow.
The numbers were coming up, and Donald was very lucky to have a high number, 360 something. In fact, his younger brother, my younger uncle Robert, had his number called before, but he was going to Boston University. As I mentioned in the book, two things really trouble me about it.
I agree, Beans.
Several years after this episode, when it was
I'll
clear
get to
that
that right after
serving,
this.
I went to a little prep school in Queens, where Donald went also. He never made it to graduation. That's why he got sent to New York Military Academy. But I met this young woman who was selling POW MIA bumper stickers. And I didn't understand why. The reason why, her father was MIA. So
a lot were during the
Vietnam War. I was probably 10 or 11 at the time. Like, wait a second. Her father, she may never see him again. Yet my uncle, through the moxie of my grandfather and Donald, did not serve. The other thing, who was that person that took his place to serve in Vietnam? And what became
Probably
of
men
that
like
person?
my dad.
We'll never know.
And it
we
fucked
won't know
him
his
up.
name or anything like that.
But what is amazing to me about what you tell is that I remember when the Atlantic story broke, and I think
It
was
really
the
was,
first to
Beans.
report that your uncle
And that's why it
described
makes me
the men
so
and women who
pissed.
serve and die as suckers and losers. And then the further reporting about him standing at Arlington with General John Kelly, and not understanding
Kelly's a traitor.
why his son would serve his country.
Yeah.
And then the reporting that came out down the road that General Milley at a ceremony had to defend the decision to have someone who was wounded serving the country as part of the ceremony because your uncle said, quote, no one wants to see that, is that it's a continuum. It starts, he believes that they're suckers and losers when he's 24.
Right.
And that what he said 50 years later wasn't an anomaly. I'm sure it was a scoop journalistically, but it was who he always was.
Yeah.
How else did that reveal itself to you?
We're going to stop here because this raises my blood pressure. How much more disrespect of our military must we stand before we realize this bum is not a leader? He didn't want somebody who was literally injured, protecting our country, to lead a ceremony because for him, they look bad. Man, get out of here with that. No. For Pete's sake, these bots are sickening. We're just going to get rid of you, sir, or ma'am, or bot, whatever the heck you are. Man, and report. Freaking bots. I'm sick of y'all. Nobody wants to be famous here. I just want to talk politics. Good Lord. Either way, I'm tired of him raising my blood pressure. The man does not deserve to be in the White House again. And we already know that he's supported by right-wing media who tends to think that they can get away with just being awful. And Jesse Walters, who you remember how much I hated this man since our days on Twitter, Beans. He has just gotten worse as he social climbed his way up to anchor ranks. Because he used to be a shitty reporter that would stick his microphone in people's faces and say off the fucking cuff bullshit. And we would watch the clips of his nonsense and call him out and make fun of him. But he went on a bit of a tangent this week, or a couple of days ago, that a lot of people were texting me about. And I was like, I'm not shocked. He is a very damaged person, but he finds being right-wing lucrative. So of course he's going to be a asshole. But let's have some Dark Brandon bring you why I can't fuck with the Fox News propaganda machine. Because Jesse Walters is a scumbag. And you'll hear from his own words why we all should feel that way.
I mean, literally dropped, like almost hit the floor when I heard Jesse Waters, Fox News resident psycho-in-chief, say this.
She's going to get paralyzed in the Situation Room while the generals have their way with her. Right now,
Jesse
whoa,
Waters.
Jesse, I don't like it.
Let's just tap it back because this is what this motherfucker literally said. He is talking about potential president, current vice president, VP Harris in the fucking Situation Room, which need I fucking remind you as VP, she's already been in the Situation Room. So, I'm going to play it again because I need people to hear. This is what they peddle on Fox Propaganda Channel. This is who they amplify and platform. This is why I don't fuck with Fox News.
In the Situation Room while the generals have their way with her. Right now,
Jesse
whoa,
Waters.
Jesse, I don't like that. Figuratively,
Take
again.
it back.
Have their way with
And
her.
they're laughing as they say take it back. So of course he's going to fucking keep doubling down. Because Fox News women are Stepford wives. They were offended by what he said, but they can't look truly offended. So they laugh. Oh, take it back, Jesse. Motherfucker, I would have been like, what the hell did you just say? You disrespectful, misogynistic piece of crap. What did you just say about the vice president? Soon to be president? The fact that they laugh nervously instead of calling his ass out shows why Fox News, if you're a woman watching it, is not for you. Ridiculous.
Call her, not in a sexual way.
Bullshit.
There it is, one of Fox
And a
News' most
laughing.
highly paid hosts promoting sexual violence against the Vice President of the United States.
He's
if
a
you
fucking
didn't know
moron.
it already, Jesse Waters is a deeply disturbed man.
Yeah,
And
we
yes,
been knew.
He absolutely meant what he said, and he said what he meant. Look at his maniacal face. It wasn't
Valerie,
a
we
slip of
still
the
got
tongue,
these coasties.
nor
I love
was
them
it a
too.
joke.
She is talented, y'all. And the character in my new novel about to be launched soon.
MSNBC tonight and said, my son, Jesse Waters, made a joke about Kamala Harris being manhandled by generals in the Situation Room.
Your father should be ashamed of himself and ashamed that he didn't just have your mom spit you out instead of swallowing.
And he has desecrated the memory of our grandfather, and it's disgusting. I could see my mom doing that, and I wish I had a political dynasty so
I'm glad you didn't have a political dynasty, because A, you really do feel like a fecal alcohol syndrome baby. B, you don't seem smart enough to be in politics, Jesse. That's why you used to stick your microphone in people's faces, asking them questions to get them angry at you for virality. But B, you're disrespecting your ancestors way more than VP Harris ever would have, you big dummy.
I could take shots as well.
I love your handiwork,
This
Valor,
guy
for
has
real.
got some serious issues, and Jesse Waters should be fired immediately.
He should, but I bet they
Matt Lauer,
won't.
the
They let
beloved
Roger
host of
Ailes run
NBC
amok for
News Today
decades.
Show, or Charlie Rose, big-time news anchors, they were terminated after evidence.
Big-time news anchors that work for both NPR, MSNBC, and I'm not trying to act like MSNBC is all that reputable because they've had problematic things on who owns them. But when it comes to certain media, image matters. And with Fox News being an entertainment news site, because it's not real news, and the majority of the shares are still owned by Saudi Arabian holders, of course they won't fire Jesse. His provocative is like watching the WWE, because that is what Fox Propaganda Channel is the equivalent of. I don't care if people don't like me saying it. It's the truth. You do not get news from that channel. You get propaganda. You get fear. You get told who to hate, who to not like, who to fear, who's coming after your jobs. That is all you get from Fox Propaganda Channel.
Of their sexual abusive behavior surfaced, immediately gone, and rightly so. But as far as I can tell, Rupert Murdoch and company are A-okay with Waters promoting
Of course,
rape
he's
culture.
on wife number 8,
Waters
and they're all
basically
20,
bragged
30,
about
40 years younger
stalking
than him.
his second wife in a criminally predatory way on air. Listen to this.
I was trying to get Emma to date me. First thing I did, let the air out of her tires.
Oh my God.
She couldn't go anywhere. She needed a lift. I said, hey, you need a lift? She hopped right in the car.
Does she know this story?
No, she doesn't know the story.
Does
she watch
now
the show?
The Jesse Jr. does.
You're basically the Zodiac killer.
It's not funny. Am I losing it? Have I taken crazy pills? This shit's not funny.
You did it, or did you use that before?
It works like a charm.
Janine, that's just so funny. Dude, that is what serial...
Fun fact about Janine, the judge, a lady that I had a falling out with, though, couldn't wait to DM me all the facts that she had back when she thought we were friends, that Janine Pirro, who calls herself a justice, does not technically have that degree and cannot legally call herself a judge. She is more along the lines of a judge like the actresses that play on Divorce Court and all those other judge shows. So I just thought that was funny.
Killers do. I am getting American Psycho vibes.
Yeah.
Murdoch entities had a track record of allowing their star performers to behave in vile, misogynistic, and sexually predatory ways. I mean,
remember, these are the same people that allowed Roger Ailes to run such a muck that they still had to pay millions upon millions of dollars to his victims, along with O'Reilly and a few others. So if you're shocked that they have a toxic frat boy mentality at Fox Propaganda Channel, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I can sell you dirt cheap.
just remember Tucker Carlson. Remember the multi-millions of dollars that Bill O'Reilly paid out to silence Fox employees whom he allegedly sexually abused for years, years before Rupert Murdoch finally fired him, but with a huge multi-million-dollar golden parachute payout. Former Fox News CEO, the late Roger Ailes, paid out millions of dollars to star hosts like
I
Gretchen
just said
Carlson
that.
for allegedly sexually abusing her and others as well. But despite those multi-million-dollar payouts, the culture of sexual violence and lies continues to thrive over at Fox. You know why? Because millions of viewers allow it to continue by tuning in.
Y'all are all
and
complicit.
making the Murdoch Corporation's billions and billions of dollars. Here's Waters again, this time body shaming Kamala Harris.
He and looking like a looking like a daggone dried up old man too. Yep. And I'm shocked he went on the Daily Show, because I remember a couple of years back, him and Jon Stewart went fucking toe to toe because Jon Stewart had his number. Just like he had Tucker Carlson's number. These guys are jokes. They're not newsmen. They're not integrity filled. They are just hate peddlers. And he does, because hate ages you. I tell it all the time. You can tell a hateful person from a joyful person because they look it in their face and everything else.
After she relatably admitted that when Donald Trump won in 2016, she ate a bag of Doritos.
She did explain why she likes Doritos. She said after she found out Trump won in 16, she sat there with like a big family-sized bag of Doritos and ate the...
I'm going to interrupt Opie right now because fuck him. A lot of us stressed ate, stressed drank, because we were fucking worried about our country after that doofus somehow managed to beat the most qualified, competent woman I ever seen since Kamala Harris before she ran this year. It should have been a fucking slam dunk, but her emails. Oh, I don't know what I don't like about her, but I just don't like her. 60 fucking percent of you who swear you're with us now stabbed us in the back. Not once, but twice. Because you tried to get over in 2022. But we had your number because there was a lot more of us who had lost people to COVID, who realized that the Afghan rollout was his fault. And all the fucking things he did in that 4 years that fucked up our economy and country, we were not allowing that man back in. But to say that VP Harris has a problem because she, like the rest of us, who was worried about our nation, under that idiot, decided to indulge in a comfort snack, is somehow worth mentioning? Yeah, this is why I don't understand the people that watch Fox News. He's a fucking idiot. And I'm sorry, if you watch it and believe the shit that they say, you're an idiot too.
Whole thing.
Yeah.
She obviously eats her feelings, and when she experiences anxiety, she puts a lot of food in her mouth. I'm worried if she's elected commander-in-chief, she's going to become so anxious, she's going to end up looking like Walls.
Fox, the propaganda network, the mouthpiece for Donald
you.
Trump, a convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist, and also the man who was close friends with child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. You know, I read through the court documents of a case titled Katie Johnson versus Donald J. Trump. Katie Johnson is actually a pseudonym for, she's now a woman, but at the time, this was a child who had barely turned 13 years old when, according to the court documents, she was repeatedly raped by Donald Trump at Jeffrey Epstein's mansions. And according to the court document, at one of those occasions, when she begged him to wear a condom, he violently struck her in the face. And when she asked what would happen if he impregnated her, again, according to the court documents, he grabbed his wallet and threw some money at her, this is a child, and screamed she should use it to get, quote, a fucking abortion. Yeah, he is a monster. And to be honest, it is so much worse. I'm just giving you...
Yeah, I think I've heard enough of that one because, ooh, child. And now he's trying to backpedal his stance on abortions because he knows he's fucked up. He went after women's rights with packing our courts with the handmaiden and beer guys so that they could work with Clarence, You Can Buy Me Thomas and Alito and Gorsh. I didn't forget about you, Gorsh. And making sure that our rights are done due to Dobbs repeal to have safe pregnancies or to choose not to have a pregnancy. To have certain medications that might cause miscarriage, but we can't have that. to fuck with IVF treatments for people who want to have babies. Because a lot of these states go by antiquated laws that don't seem to understand anything about the future of fertility. I can't stress enough as somebody who went through childhood abuse and something dark that the anniversary of it was last week. How it fucks me up that this man was allowed to get into our White House. How he could brag to Billy Bush on a bus about grabbing women inappropriately. He doesn't care. This man is a monster. And the fact that I even have to push, that I even had to open up my fucking Twitter again to remind people what's at stake. Because we can't sleep on this. Because when we thought it was a slam dunk in 2015, 2016 said, okay, what could go wrong? And then we've seen in 4 years what could go wrong. The Charlottesville riots. The good guys on both sides. The fact that plutonium went missing. The 4 dead soldiers in Kenya that we still don't have an explanation for. And the disrespect of his widow. One of their widows. The COVID non-rollout because he didn't want it to tank his presidency. So he sat on the fact that it was airborne. That people should have masked up. That we should have had a vaccine. The willy-nilly spending, the giving PPE to assholes like Muppet Green and other people who didn't even have legitimate businesses. This man is not just bad for our country, he's bad for business, he's bad for everybody, even himself. Because he's sitting on 31 fucking convictions, need I remind you. And he harbors people who want to tell the LGBTQ that you either need to be socially conditioned not to be who you are, or you're going to be ostracized. I bet he would love it if you was on the ICDM again so that you can't live your authentic lives. He wants social instability and literal reigns. He wants a fucking dynasty. And we are the foot soldiers to stop this fuckery. Instead of being foot soldiers for fuckery, we need to be the foot soldiers that protect our democracy. I don't understand why this is so hard. The fact is, the way he is the problem. The fact is 30% of the United States look at him and say, yeah, I'll take more of that. It's an utter disgrace to our society, to our culture, and to the fabric of our existence as a nation. Couldn't said it better myself, Scon. And Beans had alluded to it too. We have not healed the racial wounds. We have not healed the misogyny that has come with our country. We refuse to repair damage and anything that even hints to it. Oh, you're being woke. Can't be woke. I gotta cover my eyes now. Woke is bad. When you ask them what woke means, well, I don't know. It makes me feel bad for being white. Why should it make you feel bad for being white, caring about others? Not disrespecting people based on their skin tone, ethnicity, gender, faith, sexual identity or orientation, or gender identity. Well, morally speaking, so it's moral for you to hate? Because I know that Bible of yours said that it's not okay for you to hate. Well, no, you can't say that because the Bible said this and this and that. Have you read your Bible, really? Do you understand that nowhere in your Bible told you to hate somebody for being different? Nowhere in your Bible told you to be that way, but you refuse to see anything besides bigotry as your mantra. And that is why I'm going to make sure with every fabric of my fucking being that in November I vote for competence instead of cowardice, for leadership over losers like Trump. And if this makes you mad at me, stay mad. But I am fucking tired of y'all putting this piece of shit on a pedestal. But I guess pieces of shit elevate other pieces of shit. But we're going to get to some inspirational stuff, y'all. I got 2 speeches that have fired a lot of us up from the DNC. And while I might go back and cover more because I love Gretchen Whitmer's speech, I loved Oprah's speech, I do want to cover the Obama speeches because I feel more than anything, they spoke to the heart of why we're doing what we're doing. And they electrified the DNC. So let's get this kicked off. First off, with Michelle Obama's speech, I am so excited for y'all to hear this. I'm telling you, the likes are weird on Twitter. I mean, on YouTube.
Something wonderfully magical is in the air, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, we're feeling it here in this this arena, but it's spreading all across this country we love. A familiar feeling that's been buried too deep for far too long.
Hope.
You know what I'm talking about. It's the contagious power of hope.
Yes.
The anticipation, the energy, the exhilaration of once again being on the cusp of a brighter day. The chance to vanquish the demons of fear, division, and hate that have consumed us and continue pursuing the unfinished promise of this great nation, the dream that our parents and grandparents fought and died and sacrificed for. America, hope is making a comeback.
Yes.
To be honest, I am realizing that until recently, I have mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings. Is that deep pit in my stomach, a palpable sense of dread about the future?
Yes.
And for me, that mourning has also been mixed with my own personal grief. The last time I was here in my hometown was to memorialize my mother, the woman who showed me the meaning of hard work and humility and decency, the woman who set my moral compass high and showed me the power of my own voice. Folks, I still feel her loss so profoundly.
I feel that way with my grandma.
I wasn't even sure if I'd be steady enough to stand before you tonight, but my heart compelled me to be here because of the sense of duty that I feel to honor her memory and to remind us all not to squander the sacrifices our elders made to give us a better future.
Exactly. I feel like I channel my grandmother every time I push on.
My mom, in her steady, quiet way, lived out that striving sense of hope every single day of her life. She believed that all children, all people have value.
Yes.
That anyone can succeed if given the opportunity. She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed.
Exactly.
They understood that it wasn't enough for their kids to thrive if everyone else around us was drowning. So my mother volunteered at the local school. She always looked out for the other kids on the block. She was glad to do the thankless, unglamorous work that for generations has strengthened the fabric of this nation.
Yes.
The belief that if you do unto others, if you love thy neighbor, if you work and scrape and sacrifice, it will pay off. If not for you, then maybe for your children or your grandchildren.
This is what I mean, though. This is how many of us grew up with those sense of values. We don't do it for pats on the back. And I know being on YouTube, especially since I'm going to upload this to YouTube later on, there's a person that has been trying to at me, trying to say, well, I've been on the registry around the country and I've never seen your name anywhere. And it's like, first of all, we don't know what you're talking about. But second of all, doing charity and stuff is not for a pat on the back. Doing my political stuff is not for me. It's to make sure that our country is where it needs to be. You will never see me touting the shit I have unless it's the political swag that I've gotten. Because I do love my buttons. I love my bumper stickers. I love the dollar bills that we got too. Little nerdy kitschy things like that. I don't mind. But what I'm not going to see her doing is acting like the little things that I do for campaigns and stuff is more than the people that are running to make our country better. You can tell the difference between somebody who's in this to make sure that our society is better and better governed, and those of you grandstanders who like to fucking throw your name as if you're important. You're not. You're just a volunteer. And thank you for your service, but stop trying to make it more than what it is. I just get annoyed with people like that, and they always supersede those of us who just want to get things done for our neighborhoods and beyond.
You see, those values have been passed on through family farms and factory towns, through tree-lined streets and crowded tenements, through prayer groups and National Guard units and social studies classrooms.
Yes.
Those were the values my mother poured into me until her very last breath. Kamala Harris and I built our lives on those same foundational values.
Yes.
Even though our mothers grew up an ocean apart, they shared the same belief in the promise of this country.
Yeah.
That's why her mother moved here from India at 19. It's why she taught Kamala about justice, about the obligation to lift others up, about our responsibility to give more than we take.
Yes.
She'd often tell her daughter, don't sit around and complain about things, do something.
Yes.
So, with that voice in her head, Kamala went out and she worked hard in school, graduating from an HBCU.
Yes. While working at one of the toughest McDonald's in America, too.
And then she went on to work for the people, fighting to hold lawbreakers accountable, strengthening the rule of law, fighting to get folks better wages, cheaper prescription drugs, a good education, decent health care, child care, elder care. From a middle-class household, Kamala worked her way up to become Vice President of the United States of America.
Yes.
My girl, Kamala Harris, is more than ready for this moment. She is one of the most qualified people ever to seek the office of the presidency.
Yes.
And she is one of the most dignified. A tribute to her mother, to my mother, and to your mother too.
Maybe my grandmother.
Of the stories we tell ourselves about this country. Her story is your story.
Yes.
It's my story.
Yes.
It's the story of the vast majority of Americans trying to build a better life.
Exactly.
Look, Kamala knows, like we do, that regardless of where you come from, what you look like, who you love, how you worship, or what's in your bank account, we all deserve the opportunity to build a decent life. All of our contributions deserve to be accepted and valued.
Exactly.
No one has a monopoly on what it means to be an American. No one.
Exactly.
Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward.
Yeah, we can't.
We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Nope. She deserved all these standing ovations for real.
If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance.
Nope, we sure don't. Especially a casino. Who bankrupts a casino?
We don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No.
Get him, Michelle. Get him, Miss Obama.
The rules so we always win. If we see a mountain in front of us, We don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top.
Nope. Gotta climb that motherfucker.
We put our heads down. We get to work.
Yes.
In America, we do something.
Yes.
And throughout her entire life, that's what we've seen from Kamala Harris. The steel of her spine, the steadiness of her upbringing, the honesty of her example, and yes, the joy of her laughter and her light. It couldn't be more obvious. Of the two major candidates in this race, only Kamala Harris truly understands the unseen labor and unwavering commitment that has always made America great.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next.
Yeah.
We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth.
Yep.
My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
Yes! This speech was everything, y'all.
Wait. I want to know. I want to know. Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
Yes! This was so epic.
Look, it's his same old con. His same old con. Doubling down on ugly, misogynistic, racist lies as a substitute for real ideas and solutions that will actually make people's lives better.
Yes.
Look, because cutting our health care, taking away our freedom to control our bodies, the freedom to become a mother through IVF like I did, those things are not going to improve the health outcomes of our wives, mothers, and daughters.
It sure won't.
Shutting down the Department of Education, banning our books, none of that will prepare our kids for the future.
It sure won't.
Demonizing our children for being who they are and loving who they love. Look, that doesn't make anybody's life better.
It sure as hell don't.
Instead, it only makes us small. And let me tell you this, going small is never the answer.
At all.
Going small is the opposite of what we teach our kids. Going small is petty, it's unhealthy, and quite frankly, it's unpresidential.
Yes.
So, why would any of us accept this from anyone seeking our highest office? Why would we normalize that type of backward leadership?
We shouldn't.
Doing so only demeans and cheapens our politics. It only serves to further discourage good, big-hearted people from wanting to get involved at all. America, our parents taught us better than that.
Yes, it did. Yes, they
We
did.
deserve so much better than that. That's why we must do everything in our power to elect two of those good, big-hearted people. There is no other choice than Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. No other choice. But
I can't wait to send it to you,
as
Scone.
we embrace this renewed sense of hope, let us not forget the despair we have felt.
Every time I hear it, I just feel uplifted again.
Yes,
Even
Kamala
after
and
listening
Tim are
to that
doing
Trump
great
shit.
now. We're loving it. They're packing arenas across the country. Folks are energized. We are
Yes.
feeling good.
We're not going back.
Remember, there are still so
The
many
book,
people
Solomon.
who
You're
are
both in
desperate
it.
for a different outcome, who are ready to question and criticize every move Kamala makes, who are eager to spread those lies, who don't want to vote for a woman, who will continue to prioritize building their wealth over ensuring that everyone has enough.
Yeah.
So no matter how good we feel tonight or tomorrow or the next day, this is going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So folks, we cannot be our own worst enemies. No. See, because the minute something goes wrong, the minute a lie takes hold, folks, we cannot start wringing our hands. We cannot get a Goldilocks complex about whether everything is just right.
Exactly.
And
Talking to y'all apathetic voters.
We cannot indulge our anxieties about whether this country will elect someone like Kamala instead of doing everything we can to get someone like Kamala elected.
Exactly. Because y'all said the same thing about Barack and we got him in twice. Twice.
Kamala and Tim, they have lived amazing lives.
Yes.
And I am confident that they will lead with compassion, inclusion, and grace.
Yes.
But they are still only human. They are not perfect. And like all of us, they will make mistakes. But luckily, y'all, this is not just on them. No, this is up to us.
Yes.
All of us to be the solution that we seek. It's up to all of us to be the antidote to the darkness and division. Look, I don't care how you identify politically, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or none of the above. This is our time to stand up for what we know in our hearts is right.
Yes.
To stand up, not just for our basic freedoms.
Awesome,
but for
Solomon.
decency
I'll be
and
talking to you about some
humanity.
D&D stuff
For
soon.
basic respect, dignity, and empathy. For the values at the very foundation of this democracy. It's up to us to remember what Kamala's mother told her. Don't just sit around and complain. Do something.
Yes.
So, if they lie about her, and they will, we've got to do something. If we see a bad poll, and we will, we got to put down that phone and do something. If we start feeling tired, if we start feeling that dread creeping back in, we got to pick ourselves up, throw water on our face, and what?
Do something.
We only have 2.5 months, y'all, to get this done. Only 11 weeks to make sure every single person we know is registered and has a voting plan.
Yes.
So, we cannot afford for anyone America to sit on their hands and wait to be called. Don't complain if no one from the campaign has specifically reached out to you to ask you for your support.
Exactly.
There is simply no time for that kind of foolishness.
At all.
You know what you need to do. So, consider this to be your official ask. Michelle Obama is asking you, no, I'm telling y'all to do something.
Yes.
Because you all, this election is going to be close. In some states, just a handful, listen to me, a handful of votes in every precinct could decide the winner. So we need to vote in numbers that erase any doubt.
Yes.
We need to overwhelm
like we did in 2020.
to suppress us.
Yes.
Our fate is in our hands. In 77 days, we have the power to turn our country away from the fear, division, and smallness of the past.
Yes.
We have the power to marry our hope with our action. We have the power to pay forward the love, sweat, and sacrifice of our mothers and fathers and all those who came before us. We did it before, y'all, and we sure can do it again.
Yes.
Let us work like our lives depend on it.
Because they do.
And let us keep moving our country forward and go higher. Yes, always higher than we've ever gone before as we elect the next president and vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Thank you all. God bless.
Yes. And woo, y'all, I think that was a good place to end it. I did want to get to Barack Obama's speech, but I think I'll do that on Friday. It's going to be a double-header day. I will be on YouTube from around 2:30 to about 4 maybe. It depends on how long it goes, because Axiom Wolf and I will be going up to Gaylord next Saturday, and we wanted to make an early day of it and enjoy the town. So I really didn't want to rush through a Saturday Bonnet Live. So I figured I would do the Saturday Bonnet Live on Friday and then come back on Twitch to get the rest of these speeches out and just give my opinion on all the fuck shit that we see in politics. Maybe some news stories as well on Friday. So it's going to be a busy Friday for your girl. But I think what Michelle Obama said hits home for so many of us who grew up in houses with our grandmothers, our moms, our dads who were politically aware of actual activism. Not just the marching and protesting, but getting food to people who needed it. Getting coats and clothes to people who needed it. The unsung shit that is unsung because we're not in it for recognition. We're in it to help our communities. Even when she talked about volunteering, her mom volunteering at her school, it drove home the days in Parkwood. They didn't think I was doing anything big. They asked, or sometimes I didn't even need to ask. I would be up there to help because I believed in the cause of making sure a kid didn't go hungry, to making sure they didn't freeze during the winter. Because that's what you do when you care. And all we have to do is care just a little bit more. And take that caring heart with us to our ballots in November. And elect this caring duo of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz so that we can move forward into a more prosperous America. But the seeds of hate and divide have sown into this country so deeply that I know my words aren't going to affect those who are already full MAGA. It is to those of you who still, for some fucking reason, believe that it doesn't matter. That your vote doesn't count. That somehow doing nothing is you doing something. You've got to come on. There's so much at stake, but there is so much potential for better that you're going to potentially let slip through all of our hands because you just don't feel spoken to enough. You don't feel centered enough. You got to stop being selfish and apathetic. And you got to start putting this country first if you want me or anybody else to believe that you're really America first. But I'm going to wrap this up, y'all. Thank you so much for sitting in. Axiom Wolf for this 40-month resub. Beans, Ballard, Solomon, Scon, everybody who lurks, everybody who's going to watch the replay on YouTube when I upload it. Thank y'all all so much. He'll be home soon. You know, normally he's on the phone with me on his ride home from work, but he'll be home soon. I definitely will tell him. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. And just take care of yourself, y'all. Nothing's promised. That's why I wanted to get the second novel out. There's going to be a big dedication section to the people that we lost the last couple of years to both COVID and other tragedies. There's also going to be a dedication to those of y'all who kept me going to get this finished. Because I don't just want it to be sadness. Y'all help push me through to get this next book finished. And I will always appreciate the love and support that y'all all gave. But I want us to live in a country where we don't have to worry about my book being banned because it's too diverse, or any book being banned because it's woke, or any of the bullshit that Project 2025 will bring to us. So please, vote like all of our lives depend on it, because it does. And I will see y'all all on Friday for the double feature. Some of y'all will see me in both YouTube and Twitch. But I will definitely be back in a few days, y'all. Until then, take it easy. Rest up, hydrate, and mask up if you have to, because COVID is no joke, and I don't want to see any of y'all suffering through it. But y'all take care, and I'll see y'all soon.